Uh, it says we're live. Well, hello, everyone. It's Tuesday. It's 4:03 Pacific. No, it's 4:03 Pacific, 6:03 Central, and I'm in Central Time in Costa Rica. 7:03 Eastern Standard. Just after midnight in London and Dublin. No, just after midnight in Dublin, 1 a.m. in London and most of Europe, 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. in Australia, and I never remember what time it is in New Zealand right now. The next morning, it's 8:30, 9:30 a.m. Wednesday morning in Australia, and it's Facebook Live. And I'm a little disheveled because we just lost internet a couple minutes ago, and I'm on my phone. I've never done Facebook Live on my phone before, so it's a new one for me. And for my team, I can't see our guest, Jodi Cohen. Is she here?
I'm here.
I saw her. Oh, there you are. Okay, hi. Jodi. Oh, that's great. Now you popped up on my phone. I don't know how it works on the phone, so we'll explore this together. Jodi Cohen has been a friend for a number of years. She's an expert in essential oils, and we're going to be talking about. Oh, I'm sorry, Jodi, you have to talk. I just got a message. There's a tarantula at the door of the bedroom where my baby is. I'll be back.
Oh, that is dangerous. I am also a mother, so I have a lot of compassion for that. I have a book that comes out next week, March 16th, and it's called Essential Oils to Boost the Brain and Heal the Body. And for those of you that have been noticing that Dr. Tom is talking more and more about the parasympathetic nervous system, it includes some really great ways that you can use natural topically applied essential oils to activate the vagus nerve and trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, which I'm really excited about. I think one of the things that has not been covered as well as it could is just this idea of topically applying oils on reflex points. Most of the research looks at how quickly can things get into the bloodstream as kind of a measure of their success. You know, it has to get into the capillaries, get carried to the heart, and then get carried to the rest of the system, which takes a while. But as anyone who's ever been to acupuncture knows, you know, they put that needle in and suddenly you're calm. You feel really relaxed. So oils can work that quickly on some very specific points. I'm sure. Oh, I see a question. I always find Jodi to be very helpful. Thank you, and informative. So I would like to ask if there's an essential oil for constipation and liver health. Actually, you know what's really interesting? I'm sure Tom talks about this with you guys, but the parasympathetic, your operating system in your body is your autonomic nervous system, and it has different gears. It has the you're in danger. Oh, hi. Is the tarantula a non-threat now?
The tarantula has met its maker.
Okay. Bye-bye.
One of the prices of living in Costa Rica, in the jungle in Costa Rica.
Yeah. High price of paradise.
Yes, the price of paradise. So please continue. I came in and heard that you were talking about the parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system.
Which, so just to back up, I'm so excited that you're adding that to your course. That's going to be so valuable.
Yes. It is an essential component that most people don't really talk about very much, and it's critically important. You know, we'll get to essential oils, but I was just doing an interview today talking about this. Thank you, honey. Marzi has given me her phone, and it says, "Oh, Jodi's bio." So have you done your bio? Did you tell people a little about you?
Basically, I mean, quickly, I am a, necessity is a mother of invention kind of girl. My life hit rock bottom. I was stuck in sympathetic, and my gut was toast because I was so chronically inflamed that Nothing was really helping. And then I had a very wise friend who said essential oils will help. And so I didn't know what I was doing. I just tested them the way I tested supplements and made a blend, put it on my adrenals, on my low back, felt better. Said, okay, that worked. I'm going to just keep doing it. But what's interesting is I knew about the parasympathetic nervous system from yoga. And I kept thinking, oh, it's relaxing. Oh, I just need lavender or chamomile. And nothing was working. But right when I started the company in 2012, there was a New York neuroscientist named Kevin Tracy who was basically surgically implanting pacemaker like devices and using them to stimulate the vagus nerve because it's most accessible right here. And when I read that, I thought, oh, oils are stimulatory. I could do that with oils. And so that's really the impetus. When I started realizing it's not calming the vagus nerve, it's stimulating the vagus nerve to activate parasympathetic. That was kind of my big aha moment. So that's when I really, just put it out there. And worked for me back in the beginning, when I was just like writing blogs and people found me. I don't even know how. Uh-oh, I think you froze. Um, okay. You are frozen at the moment. So to answer the constipation question, the vagus nerve innervates the whole digestive cascade. So it starts, just quick anatomy lesson. It is the on-off switch between the fight or flight, resources are allocated to survival, and rest and digest, you can heal and actually have a bowel movement. So it starts at the back of the head, connects the brain and the body, brain, winds around, is most accessible behind the ear on the mastoid bone. Then it innervates the throat, the mouth, the lungs, the heart, basically every organ of digestion. It helps the mouth release saliva, it helps the stomach release hydrochloric acid, helps the gallbladder release bile, which also helps with bowel movements. It innervates the liver, the small intestine, the large intestine. And it really is kind of the moving walkway of digestion. So it helps with peristalsis. So basically, when you think you're in danger and you're in that fight or flight state, your ability to have a bowel movement shuts down because that's not critical to survival in the moment. So the moment you activate your vagus nerve with a blend, I like clove and lime. I give the recipe in the book. That really helps to keep things going and make sure constipation is cleaned up. It also helps with the liver. Castor oil is known to be really anti-inflammatory. And the liver really works the hardest at night. So I like to apply castor oil. I buy it in a glass bottle, not a plastic bottle. And then I add some oils for the liver. I detail them all in the book, but helichrysum and white grapefruit are really good. Okay, well, we're waiting for Tom to come back. Quincy, I read this today. Just as you should never stop drinking clean water, exercising, brushing your teeth, and eating cancer-fighting foods, at no time should you ever disregard your central nervous system. From the book Cancer Killers, what do you suggest to aid the central nervous system? I think I love the parasympathetic blend to help the nervous system regain balance. But what I really talk about in the book, it's really interesting. I think we all evolve, right, over time. So I originally thought that we were all super complicated and no one was the same. But over years and years, you start to see like clusters of symptoms, you start to see patterns. And what I've really found is that for most people, it's imbalances that keep us from healing. And Tom does an amazing job of talking about the gut and autoimmunity. At the root of most imbalance is stress, and so much of that is kind of our nervous system literally being stuck in the wrong gear. And anticipatory stress, thought driven stress, anything that's kind of, worrying us can kind of keep us stuck in this sympathetic fight or flight state when all healing occurs in the rest and digest state. The other things are environmental toxins. That can throw us off because then the immune system's reacting and that causes inflammation. If we're not digesting our protein, our body can perceive those to be toxins. So we're reacting to ourself and having an autoimmune condition. And then sleep. Sleep is really critical. And then just supporting the immune system and supporting your energy to heal. And those are all things that I think oils are really well suited to support in a way that other things are not, because one of the big challenges, Datis Karazian, who's also a favorite along with Tom, was speaking at a conference this weekend, and he was talking about how, once inflammation is turned on in the brain, it's hard to turn off. But polyphenols, which are, kind of the umbrella category for flavonoids and all the foods that Tom tells you to eat, can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and turn off inflammation. So, for those of you that don't know, the blood brain barrier, kind of like the gut barrier, has really tight junctions, and it only lets super small fat soluble molecules through. This is one reason that essential fatty acids are so good in the brain, because they can actually, that key unlocks the door so they get through. Oils also can get through the blood brain barrier and help to really calm the brain, anti inflame the brain. When I kind of, the other interesting thing is that the nose goes directly to the brain, and the blood brain barrier is thinnest in the nasal passageway. It's also the easiest to access the capillaries in that passageway. So once I realized, oh my gosh, oils can boldly go where other supplements cannot. You can't do chemo in the brain because you can't get remedies into the brain. I started realizing that a lot of the things that we're really trying to unravel can be really helped if we kind of are addressing it from the head down and the gut up. So everything Tom teaches about the gut is crazy critical. And if you start applying a blend of clove and lime behind your earlobe to the mastoid bone to help kind of turn on your parasympathetic nervous system and start smelling oils in very specific ways, it's like you're working at it from both angles. It's, for any of my biker listeners, I'm a big biker. I live in Seattle, huge hills. If you start going up a hill and you're like, this is hard. Oh, wait, I need to downshift. Suddenly it becomes easier. It's so much easier to like bike downhill with the wind at your back than trying to go uphill in the hail, as it has been in Seattle. So all of these little things are just little gear shifts. I'm going to look back in the chat while we're waiting for Tom to join us. Hi. Do any essential oils work like DAO supplements for histamine, and do any work for oxalates? Thanks so much. So histamine's complicated, and you definitely want to address that with your diet, but there is one oil that I find especially modulating, especially if there's been a mold exposure, which takes, you have to kind of remediate your surroundings, and then there's a lot of unraveling. And it's this oil called blue tansy that is best found in Morocco. It's quite expensive, but I actually offer it as part of a histamine balancing blend, because histamine, you don't want to antihistamine. Histamine does a lot of good things, so you want to modulate histamine. You want to make sure it's not overreacting and underreacting. So I can share a link that they can add to this, actually for a really good offer on the histamine blend. But blue tansy is the best one. Okay. How do we know which oils require carrier oils, or can we just use alone? It really it's kind of like how much salt do you want to add to your food? Like, truthfully, lavender and frankincense I think are pretty safe to use alone, but again, moderation, like don't shower in it, right? Use a small amount, especially like if you I do a lot of wok cooking, and I tend to get a lot of like sprayed oil. So lavender oil, I just use that immediately, and it never burns, it never scars. It's great. Frankincense is my mom's absolute favorite. She likes helichrysum too. You can put a little dab kind of at the base of the skull. If you're worried at the bottom of the feet, the skin is thicker there. And so the reason you would want to dilute is that sometimes oils can be hot. And what that means is that they either feel hot or they make your skin red. And so diluting means combining with another oil, like a vegetable oil. It could be something in your kitchen. It could be olive oil, coconut oil. Um, I use castor oil sometimes, which is kind of a unique carrier because it does a lot of things. It's good for drainage and anti-inflaming, which is what I'm really using oils for. The other interesting thing about carrier oil is that some of them, when you combine oils, like I'll take the parasympathetic blend. What I was really trying to do was use a super stimulatory oil that had some other modulating properties that I'll get into, and get it into the skin quickly. So the dermis, your skin, it is the largest organ, but there are different variables that impact how quickly remedies get through your skin. So one of them is how big the molecules are. So clove gets in around 30 minutes. Lyme has the smallest molecules and gets in like in under 5 minutes. So when you combine them, it's kind of like a good marriage and then they have children. You can get the best qualities of both and create a different situation. Now, carrier oils, I like fractionated coconut oil, which is basically coconut oil that stays liquid at any temperature, because that also carries things into the skin really quickly. An oil like jojoba is more slow, like time released. So if you were using, say, frankincense on your skin for some kind of eczema, jojoba would be a really good one to choose. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I'd love to hear about essential oils for gut healing. Is that what you meant, Jody? Yeah. So for gut healing, it's really interesting. I don't really advocate drinking oils for a number of reasons, but mostly because I don't think that's the most efficient way to get oils into the body. We have a gut repair kit that includes parasympathetic because you really need to shift into the parasympathetic nervous system to kind of rest, digest, and heal. And then we also have one that's called anti-inflammatory that I originally formulated for a friend who has lupus and constant chronic inflammation. But I started realizing that in order to heal the gut, obviously what you put in your mouth is critically important. So follow Tom's protocol for the autoimmune fix and what you eat. And you can topically apply oils. I like it in kind of a clockwise circle around the belly button, and you're hitting a lot of digestive points. And then we also have one that helps with intestinal mucosa. So getting a little geeky here, but the mucosal lining of your gut is basically what kind of it's almost like the glue that holds the wallpaper to the wall. So if you're ingesting probiotics and there's not a really solid mucosal lining, they kind of don't necessarily stick and do their job. So this oil is really designed to repopulate and pre-populate intestinal mucosa. And these three oils in combination with an autoimmune diet can be really powerful. Okay. Can essential oils help quit smoking? So the reward neurotransmitter is called dopamine. And what is believed is that if you trigger dopamine response, then that kind of gives your body that fix that you would get from the cigarette or from the drink or whatever it is. So there are some essential oils that help support a dopamic response. I get into that more in the book, but there sadly there are no magic bullets that can help kind of if then instead of grabbing the cigarette you grab the oil. Can you recommend essential oils? I don't know what pedalodemia is. I'm super sorry. Oils to help PTSD and environmental toxins. Yeah, PTSD. Wow. So we talked about kind of the sympathetic response is fight or flight. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. There's a third one that's kind of the freeze response. And basically, think of if the tiger is chasing the zebra, right? Either the zebra can run really fast and escape, that's fight or flight. And then when it escapes, it gets to rest and digest. If it doesn't think it can outrun the lion, sometimes it plays dead. It goes into freeze. Sometimes abused children or rape victims do this too, because if you can't, actually flee, you have to kind of, you can't be present in the body. You have to kind of get out of your body so that you feel less pain. And so stimulating the vagus nerve to turn on parasympathetic, that helps move you out of that shock freeze state. The other great thing, you can use oils for grounding, which is, earthing, connecting to the earth. It's really interesting. I wrote a pretty long blog about the different parts of the plants, like where they come from and how that helps work in the body. So think of the plants with the really deep, roots in the earth. Those are really connected to the earth. They're really good for grounding. So that's things like vetiver, trees like cedar wood or sandalwood. Those are great ones to apply to the bottom of the feet. And then the other aspect you're asking about, oh, hi, Anne. I keep seeing you.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know, Dr. Tom's internet is out, so I will be acting as your host. Hi, Facebook. I didn't expect to be on camera, but I wanted to provide Jody some support. We've got probably 100 questions already. So I'm just going to help you out, pick out some of the great questions. You're doing great. We missed it after Tom, especially me at the moment. But I'll be on acting as your host. And just to let everybody know, yes, Jody and I have worked together. Her essential oils are the only ones I use, the only ones I've ever felt effect from. So I'm super excited to have her on as I work with Dr. Tom. And I'll just let you do your thing. But there's so many awesome questions. So I'm going
Okay.
to pick out a few as you
Perfect.
go
No,
through.
that's great.
Just let me
And just so
know.
everyone knows, Anne has a 1-year-old and she's rocking it. So I did not
Thank
look
you.
that good
Oh
when my
I
babies
told
were
my husband,
1.
like, keep him quiet. There's
Yeah,
people
right.
listening. All right, so I'm going to mute myself, but I'll you know, as you answer questions, I'll pick out a few that I know that you're going to be able to answer no problem. There's a
Okay,
lot of
awesome.
stuff about gut health and just people saying how awesome your parasympathetic oil is. So I'll let you get started. I'll let you move forward because I know
Okay.
we want to answer as many questions as we can. And
Yeah,
if
and
we
I
don't get to all the questions, guys, just know that there's someone on the VBO team in the comments putting links in because Jody's got blogs. She's got, you know, people are asking about adrenals, leaky gut. She's got protocols for all of that. So if your question doesn't get answered, know that her team is in there putting the links in, and then we're going to answer as many questions as we can live. All right?
Yeah, and they can email me at info@Vibrant Blue Oils and we'll answer questions there too. One of the things that I love about oils, you know, toxins, you know, the cell needs to be in the parasympathetic state to release toxins. Then it goes from the lymph to the blood, to the liver, to the gallbladder, to the gut, ideally to the toilet. At any point, it can get kind of backed up, especially the lymph. The lymph does not have its own pump. And so oils can really help to, you know, we talked about downward momentum, to shepherd the toxins out of the body. Because I think one of the biggest challenges is that your cells release the toxins and then it's almost like yelling fire in the movie theater without opening the exit doors. They just kind of recirculate and sometimes land in places where they don't belong. And then they trigger the immune system and more inflammation. So the more you can literally usher, like think of poor Anne trying to get her son out the door, you know, or any of us, like trying to get the kid to leave the playground. Like, no, we're not going to the slide. No, we're not going back to the swings. No, we're not petting the dog. We're getting in the car, going, you know, it's just a lot of work to make sure that things don't get distracted and leave the body. So we've got a lymph blend for that, liver, gallbladder. Okay. Gut
I
health.
see a great one from Gracie, and I know this is something that it probably affects a lot more people than just her. So, is there any oil that I can use for type 2 diabetes? I don't want to take metformin anymore. I was told to use berberine, but it's not an oil. It comes as pills. Could you give me some tips regarding oils and diabetes?
Yeah, we have a blood sugar kit. So basically, the organs involved in diabetes, in blood sugar regulation, are the pancreas, the liver, and the adrenals. And the more you can support those 3 oils or 3 organs, the more diabetes is less of an issue. There's also some interesting research that I really detail in the book about how smelling, you know, there are insulin receptors in the brain near the hypothalamus. So things as simple as smelling peppermint can really help out. But our pancreas blend is a great one to start with. I usually, if you can get all 3, that's great. If you have to prioritize, pancreas is 1, adrenal 2, liver 3. You know, and there are some good supplements that help as well, but cinnamon, a little drop of cinnamon. There's a lot of research that cinnamon can help balance the blood sugar. And again, it's cinnamon bark, if you're listening, not cassia from cinnamon leaves, but just a little drop on the inside of the cheek. Or there's, if you've heard of oil pulling, basically it helps to kind of keep the teeth and the gums clean because fat likes fat. And you can actually pull the oil, you know, the oil kind of pulls the toxins like a magnet out of the gums, but you can add a few drops of cinnamon into that. And that's a really good way to kind of balance the blood sugar.
In that same note, I've got someone, well, you know what? This is probably most of our, you know, doctor.com community. Someone asks, Hi, any oils for gluten sensitivity? I know you've got a lot for, digestive health and all sorts of stuff, but is there anything specifically for gluten sensitivity?
Yeah, I think, one of the biggest challenges for any food sensitivity is undigested proteins. So, how does protein get digested? The mouth releases saliva in the parasympathetic state, and then the stomach releases stomach acid. So, anything you can do, I actually have a free gift. Boostthebrainbook.com/gift that gives you 25 strategies to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Most of them are free. You only need to pick one. Anything you can do to turn on your parasympathetic nervous system helps you digest those proteins so that they never become an autoimmune trigger.
All right, awesome. You might have, you know what? This one's a new one. What oils do you recommend for helping with hormones?
Hormones are really interesting because it really comes down to, I think, stress and detox. Because stress, when you're in stress, then your body kind of prioritizes stress hormones like cortisol over the reproductive hormones like progesterone and estrogen. There's, oh gosh, pregnenolone steal. The pregnenolone, it will be made if you're not in stress. If you're in stress, then it steals it to make cortisol. So as long as you can kind of manage your stress, and oxidative stress really contributes to hormone challenges. So that's kind of helping to shift your body into parasympathetic. And then your endocrine system, which is responsible for releasing hormones, it's your hypothalamus that communicates with your pituitary, which communicates with your adrenal glands. So we have an oil that kind of help modulate cortisol output. Anyone that's taken the 24-hour saliva spit test, it's not like you're flatline. Usually, ideally, you're high in the morning and then low as the day wears on. Often that rhythm gets a little out of balance, and you can take glandulars and other supplements to try to guess, like, okay, we feel a little low, we're going to make you higher. Or you can use adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, eleuthera, or essential oils to kind of modulate. So if you're too high, it helps you calm down. If you're too low, it helps you be brought up. And also the hypothalamus, which is really hard to get, but really easy to access through inhalation. You can use an oil that helps kind of modulate that so that it returns to balance. So that's stress. Then in terms of detox, what's happening, your poor liver does over 500 functions, and it's a little like Sisyphus sometimes. It's pushing the toxins out to the gallbladder, and then ideally from the gallbladder, they get carried in the bile to the gut, not reabsorbed, but leave the body. Often they get reabsorbed, and then that liver that just processed all these toxins has to do the same thing over again. So anything you can do to kind of increase the vitality of the liver, make the bile a little bit thinner, and then binders. I think binders are great, making sure you take binders away from meals, but before bed to kind of grab the toxins and pull them out of the body.
What binders do you recommend?
I love Cellcore. Todd Watts and Jay Davidson they have 3 different ones that are all good. HMET is the heavy metal environmental toxin one. They've got biotoxin, which is really good for mold exposure. And then they have one for radiation. And I love 2 things about them. They're very clean in their sourcing, and you can take them with supplements because that's a big challenge for people. Like they're so pleased that they remember to take their supplements. Oh, wait, I can't take this with that. It just makes it more complicated.
And just for those of our community who are not familiar with oils or detoxing, can you tell us a little bit about what binders are and what they do?
Yeah. So binders are they're usually from like charcoal or psyllium or algae. And what they're really doing is, like grabbing the toxins in the gut, and they have kind of a magnetic charge so that they're able to pull the toxins out of the body. So often what happens is it's a little bit like watching football, right? They're almost about to get a goal and they get like tackled right before they make it. So those toxins have gone from your cell to your lymph to your blood to your liver to your gallbladder to your gut, and they're about to make a quick dash, get out of the system, but they get reabsorbed through leaky gut. So binders, especially if you have any kind of leaky gut, binders are really good because they literally are magnet-like. They just kind of pull the garbage out of the body and shepherd it out of the body for you.
All right. Thanks, Jody. We've got a couple of people asking about essential oils for anti-anxiety. I know that's something that you definitely address.
Yeah. So anxiety, I am a poster child for anxiety. I had anxiety all of my life, and I have a lot of compensatory measures, but none that all of my things were like kind of workarounds. Like I wouldn't wait until the last minute to turn in a paper because I'd get too anxious, that kind of stuff. But here's the coolest thing I've ever learned. So there's a whole branch of chiropractic called functional neurology. And what they're really doing is looking at the different regions of the brain and the different hemispheres. And when you present with certain symptoms, that means certain things are out of balance. And so they use a lot of tools, including oils, to return the brain to balance. So anxiety is the right forehead, right frontal lobe that's overactive. So the remedy is to do anything to stimulate the left frontal lobe, left forehead, to put the two hemispheres into balance and make you not feel anxious. So the easiest way to do that, bar none, take your right thumb, plug your right nostril, take anything, any oil in your house. You know, oils are found in the citrus, in the peel of citrus fruits. You can peel a tangerine, smell it for 5 to 7 seconds. It will stimulate the left frontal lobe, balance the two hemispheres, and the anxiety will go away. You will not feel a panic attack. You will not feel like your heart is exploding out of your chest. But here's the best thing. They say that stresses are additive and cumulative. Remedies are too. Every time you do this, you're doing two things. You're making it less likely to have a panic attack in the future, and you're really activating your forehead, your prefrontal cortex, your executive function. So you're making it easier for you to focus.
Got it. Thank you, Jody. Lorna asks, what oils should be used for asthma?
You have to be careful with asthma because a lot of people, eucalyptus are kind of the oils that everyone recommends for breathing, and peppermint, but those can be aggravating for asthma. So I actually look at asthma as more from the autoimmune angle. So the Dr. Tom angle of making sure that you're cleaning up your gut. But I also see it as inflammation of the lungs. So the ones I like are the anti-inflammatory ones for the lungs. So like ginger is really good for inflammation, frankincense, dill. I have a whole recipe that I share in the book, but just be careful, and also be careful about diffusing. You know, one of the best ways actually would be an Epsom salt bath. This is interesting. We haven't talked about sleep, but lavender is kind of perceived as the panacea for sleep. And it's a little bit, oh God, what's that thing, the antihistamine that everyone says? There was some antihistamine that they're like, give it to your kid on a red eye, it'll knock him out or make him hyper. It made my son really hyper. Anyway, lavender works best if you use it as part of an Epsom salt bath. So it's a really simple recipe: 2 cups of Epsom salt, 1 cup of baking soda, and then 3 drops of lavender. Use your bathtub as a mixing bowl. Mix the lavender in before you add the water so it doesn't float on top. Make the water as hot as you can handle, and then soak for as long as you can. But you know, your skin is your largest organ, and the hot water opens the pores. The Epsom salt is magnesium. It kind of relaxes your system. It's a full body relaxation. So I would try that because that's really relaxing for the lungs and not overwhelming.
I've done that so many times. I've heard you say that, and I've taken the bath. And also, an additional thing that you told me was let it sit for 20 minutes and then at least soak for another 20 minutes. And I've always followed your formula, and it works out great. So,
It's a good one too. Like if you start to notice like your throat, you know how your throat feels itchy before you get a cold? Every
mhm,
time my throat
I
feels
do it
itchy, if I
right
do,
away. Yeah,
yeah, and then you wake up and you're totally healthy.
for sure. Oh, got a question from Wendell Smith. Is there an essential oil that helps to get rid of tinnitus?
You know what's really interesting about tinnitus? There's a lot of theories on that, but that really comes down to kind of congestion in the neck, and it's been associated with the vagus nerve. In fact, the implant has been certified by the FDA for both epilepsy, depression, and then migraines that are correlated with vertigo and tinnitus. So if you have tinnitus, think neck. And the neck channel is really the bottleneck of your body. You've got a lot going on in there. You've got the structure, you've got the vascular, you've got the nerves, the muscles, the lymph. And what happens is it's a little bit like being in the middle row of an airplane between two linebackers. Like if the lymph is congested, the linebackers are congestion, and you're trying to put your arm anywhere other than like here, there's just not room. There's not space. So lymph is really well moved with oil. In fact, there was a research study. This Dr. Marco Ruggiero actually took sonogram pictures of the neck and was kind of seeing congested lymph, and then that congests the vagus nerve, and it becomes a whole, backed up nightmare that can then trigger symptoms like the vagus nerve does pass near the ear, and so that can contribute to ringing in the ear. So he actually started topically applying oils, and you can just use castor oil, like anything with the downward movement to help anti-inflame and decongest and move stagnation. And then he took other follow-up pictures and found that it shrunk up a lot. So there's a lot you can do. And I've got like 3 blogs on tinnitus.
Yeah, I could answer this next one, but I'm going to let Jody. Because I
Okay.
know her business so well. But Kat says, is there a chart anywhere to show us what oil goes with what health issue, what binder to use? It would be so helpful.
Oh, I have so many
I just haven't
charts. And
is it in there?
yeah, I've got all the charts in here. I've got them on the site. Everyone who's ever worked for me is like, stop making content. Just stop. Don't do it anymore. You've got enough. You're good. Yeah, I have tons of charts. And actually, Anne, you'll be so psyched. I'm going to do a class where I'm going to do like very specific videos, but we can actually link, from this and give you the links. But yeah,
Oh,
we've
that's
got
great.
tons of really specific charts to really walk you through. And
And you should
binders.
know,
Oh yeah,
if
I
you
do.
visit Jodi's website and store, she's got it all categorized by symptom, by root cause, by, so if if it's asthma, you could just look up stuff for asthma. So her website's really intuitive too. And that's how I discovered, oh, okay. So I just look up the symptom and there's always a blog about it, or it's already categorized on her website. So take a look, guys. It's vibrantbrewoils.com, and super easy to use and user friendly, beautiful. But it's got a lot of information. A lot of people ask, how do I use it? When do I use it? It's all there. There's videos about Jodi's actually applying the oil. It's super, super helpful. You can tell that I'm super enthusiastic about it because, personally, my family, certain family members have used them. It's made such a difference. So I tell everybody about it. Oh, I'm going to stop talking. There's another question.
The ear infection. So I don't put oils in the ear. We have a nerve repair one that you can put behind the ear, but honestly, for ear infections, just squeeze garlic into olive oil, put that in the ear, and then you can heat, like you can put rice in a sock and heat it for a little bit and put that over it. The garlic and the olive oil is really the way to go.
How much olive oil? Do you just like crush the garlic and
Yeah,
let it
yeah.
soak in
I would
there?
probably pour like a teaspoon or 2 into a little container, and then I would just use the garlic press. Yeah, and put that in the ear. That was actually a pediatrician, a mainstream pediatrician told me that. And that was what I did with all my kids' ear infections.
And I know this question comes up a lot, and it's being careful with babies and pets and essential oils.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really don't recommend oils on children under the age of 18 months just because they're so sensitive. Sometimes eh, what I have said in a pinch is you can put a drop of oil on a cotton ball and put it in the corner of the crib. So pets, dogs are fine. My dog loves oils. Cats, you have to be careful of because it's interesting. Anything that you can't detoxify is kind of a toxin. So like rat poisoning is actually vitamin D, but rats can't detoxify it. So cats lack some of the liver enzymes to properly process essential oils. So what that means is, if you have a cat, like just topically apply it when they're not around or somewhere where they won't lick. And if you are going to diffuse, make sure that whatever room you're diffusing in, they can get in and out of quickly. Try to limit diffusing to like 20 minutes twice a day.
Got it. We have a question from one of our fan favorites. Shanquilo Johnston asks, any oils for mold toxicity or glyphosate detoxing?
Yeah, glyphosate detoxing, it helps to be in parasympathetic, and you're really going to want to use lymph. You know, what's interesting is the lymph doesn't drain evenly, it drains more on the left side. So the bottleneck points are the sides of the neck and then the left clavicle. You can do under both armpits and then along the inguinal line. And some people do it clockwise around the gut too, because, you know, we are kind of a hydraulic system. So if there's congestion in the gut, that can back up into the symptom and mold too. Mold really gets into the sinuses. So we've got that histamine blend that I mentioned that you can put kind of back of the head, behind the ears, or you could just take a little Q-tip and kind of swab around the nasal passageways like twice a day. And that just helps, you know, mold, the mycotoxins in mold can live on for a while in the sinuses. So that's a good way to get rid of them.
Okay, got it. You know what? Let's talk about, people are saying, hey, what's the name of that book? So tell us a little bit about your book.
Oh, I would love to. It's essential oils to boost the brain and heal the body. And I'm actually very excited. It's now $15 on Target, which means Amazon price matched it. It comes out on March 16th, but if you order now, you not only get the super cheap price, but we have all these great book bonuses. If you just go to Boost the Brain book and enter kind of your information, you'll get really great downloads, 4 of them at this point. So a bonus chapter on parasympathetic, a bonus checklist on sleep so that you can really get to the root cause of your sleep, that detox bath recipe and the immune guide recipe, and then all of these application charts. This is actually interesting. Ben Greenfield read the book and he's like, it never occurred to me to use reflux points with oils. Like that works really well. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of like things that you know, you just assume everyone knows. So I didn't realize that was new information. So I put together a whole bonus guide, not only on application reflux points on the feet, but some of my other favorite ones that are, you know, to just get to the hard to address areas.
Got it. And for those of us who have already read Jodi's first book, so I felt it super helpful because I was a beginner. Is the second book also something that
It's,
if
yeah,
you
I mean, I
pick
really,
up and read?
oh yeah. And you know, when you publish with like Random House, they kept, my whole thing was like, I can't dumb it down too much. So I'm very proud.
Jodi's very sciencey, like Dr. Tom, guys.
Yeah. Actually, same publisher. Oh, you know what's really funny? I did the audiobook and it was so exhausting. And Mary Agnes was like, yeah, Dr. Tom said that was the hardest thing he's ever done.
Yep, he's mentioned
Anyway,
that.
the producer emailed me because she did Dr. Tom's too. I'm like, oh, no wonder we had the same like drill sergeant.
That's awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And Kat says, does your chart tell where to place the oils?
Yeah.
And absolutely. All of,
Yeah.
if you
And
buy an essential oil from VVO, they actually send you a chart that tells you where to put it, how it works, what it's all made of. And obviously, it looks like Jodi's got that in her book as well.
yeah, I went really detailed because what I found, a couple things, like I think that first of all, when you understand what's going on, like I noticed that I saw something in here about fatty liver. I have fatty liver. One of my things, I'm a slow methylator. So, you know, phase 1 kind of makes things more toxic and then phase 2 turns it into water so it can leave the body. If you're really good at mobilizing phase 1, but challenged at phase 2, you could be eating the perfect food and it's just not going well for you. So oils can really help to kind of activate phase 2. And I forget where I was going with this. It's something I was going to tie it together with kind of where to apply and everything. But once I understood what was happening, I was so motivated to really support the liver in a new way. I think that sometimes understanding like what's going wrong and why it's going wrong empowers you to fix it and motivates you to really be consistent about, you know, making changes.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, this is important because I know it affects a lot of people. Patty asks, what about Lyme disease? I'm having anxiety, depression, and tingling.
Yeah, so we work really closely with a lot of practitioners for Lyme, and their favorite, they have three that are their favorite. Parasympathetic, because often when your body, any kind of autoimmunity kind of puts your body in that chronic sympathetic state, and you really need to be in parasympathetic to heal. Lymph, because so much of trying to just return the body to balance is really draining the lymph system and supporting the lymph. And then histamine, because that can help with kind of calming the nervous system and tingling, and anything you can smell through your left nostril. I love histamine balance. It's really good. That will help, pardon me, please, with the anxiety.
I just ordered some
Yeah.
the other day. Just wanted to read a comment and just say this has been so awesome. Thanks to both of you. Thanks, Kat. I'm no Dr. Tom, but I'm trying my best.
You're rocking it, Anne.
You know what? There's another, hey, I just want, for those of you asking, if you look in the description of this Facebook Live, there's a link to get Jodi's free bonus chapter, and I'm sure they'll follow up with links to pre-order the book and everything. So if you're asking about that, just go ahead and check the description of this Facebook Live and you'll be getting that, or it's right there for you.
Yeah.
That fatty liver question from Faina, it says, any oil for fatty liver, Hashimoto, no gallbladder. I know you get that question a lot, and neck pain.
Yeah, it's really interesting. A couple people on my team have no gallbladder, and I was surprised at how little information there is on that. I wrote it was like 10 pages in a really long, detailed blog about everything you can do to support your gallbladder. I also have Hashimoto's, and I've noticed, Isabella once actually touched on this. For me, whenever I support my liver, like whenever I do kind of, a 1 week, even vegetable focused diet, and support oils, that really helps. So parasympathetic, absolutely, because that will help both the liver and the gallbladder. We have a liver blend. We have lymph blends. You want to think also about castor oil packs, and that can be as simple as just applying castor oil from a glass bottle, not a plastic bottle, over your liver, right side of your body, under your breast, just before bed, and then adding like liver oils on top of it. And then just wear a t-shirt that if the t-shirt gets stained, you're going to be okay with that. You can also layer that into an Epsom salt bath. So put the castor oil and the liver oils over the liver, and then soak in an Epsom salt bath. Binders, which we talked about, are going to be a really good choice. There's a supplement called Advanced TUDCA, TUDCA, that Cellcore offers. That's very supportive for the gallbladder and gallbladder removal as well.
Great. Thank you, Jodi. I know that's a common question. Oh, one close to my heart. Martha asks, and it's going to be one of the last questions. So if you guys have any more, go ahead and type them in now. But Martha wants to know about SIBO specifically.
Yeah, so much of small intestinal bacteria overgrowth is just from the food sitting too long in the small intestine. Think of your digestive cascade as a moving walkway. As long as things keep moving, it doesn't sit too long and cause overgrowth. So being able to activate the parasympathetic nervous system really makes sure it's the motility wave, the housekeeping wave, but things keep going. So that's a really big one for SIBO.
Yeah. And if you guys are kind of new to essential oils and you haven't heard of VBO, start with the parasympathetic oil. I got to tell you, like, I personally have SIBO. I use the parasympathetic, and I'm just, right here on the mastoid
Yeah, I'll
bone.
show you. This is the bottle. I literally just flip it, and then it doesn't matter what ear you put it behind. It's just right. If you feel right behind the earlobe on that bone, that's your mastoid bone. That's also 2 acupuncture points. It's that simple. And you can do that on children over 2.
Yeah. And it's just like I'm in the bathroom and within 20 minutes. So it works great. Okay. Got a couple more questions. Anything, Bronwyn asks suggestions for kidney stones.
Anything that you can do. So here's what's interesting. When toxins, like if there's any congestion in the liver or the duct that goes between the liver or the gallbladder or the bile, toxins back up into the blood. And then they're either pushed out through the skin, you might get skin abrasions, or the kidneys, where you have low back pain, frequent urination, and kidney stones. So anything that you can do to support the liver and the gallbladder are really good. There's also a supplement, I'm going to mispronounce it, Chanca Piedra. I have it listed in the gallbladder blog, but that can help kind of decalcify and break down kidney stones.
Thank you. And what about reflux? Sorry, I can't say that name. Dwinny. Sorry if I murdered it.
So reflux, it's also like the parasympathetic state triggers the stomach to release hydrochloric acid. And we think of reflux as being too much acid, but it's actually the opposite. Your food doesn't drop until there's high enough acid content. So it's kind of the food waiting too long. Like think about, you're filling the bathtub. You're not going to get in when it's freezing. You wait for it to warm up. So the food's waiting for the acid to be at the right level. So parasympathetic, behind the earlobe. It's really funny. I used to work a lot with betaine, which is hydrochloric acid. Once I started using the parasympathetic blend, I didn't need to use betaine anymore.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Okay, a couple more minutes. I'm going to do a second part to this questions because I know people are going to ask about it. So Michelle Bernard asks, anything you could recommend for falling asleep? And my secondary is staying asleep.
Yeah, that actually, if you buy the book, you get a really detailed quiz to kind of help you isolate. So what's interesting, this is the reason that lavender is not a panacea for sleep, because there are often 4 different things that are going on. So the first one is trouble falling asleep. The hormone that is released by your pineal gland, which is right in the middle of your brain, kind of level with your eyes in response to darkness, is melatonin. That is your sleep hormone. It also has a lot of antioxidant and other very healthy related effects. Like they believe that one of the reasons that kids are less likely to have a bad experience with COVID is because they have high melatonin levels. And interestingly, as a new mom, so melatonin levels don't get regulated until 3 months. That's why, your baby doesn't know night from day for the first 3 months. And then they tend to drop as you age. And part of that is that environmental toxins like glyphosate, which we mentioned earlier, fluoride in the water, aluminum, can actually calcify in the pineal gland. The pineal gland gets the second most blood flow after the kidneys, and it also is less protected by the blood-brain barrier. So all these toxins kind of congeal and can calcify it a little bit and compromise its function. So pineal function is also thrown off by cortisol, the stress hormone. So, if you're about to die, you really can't fall asleep. So anyway, we have a blend that you can apply on the sides, right above the ears, on the skin, top of the head, back of the head. I don't recommend putting it on the eyes because if you're a tossing, turning sleeper, I don't want you to get oil in your eyes, but it helps the pineal gland naturally trigger the sleep hormone melatonin so you can fall asleep. Night waking. If you're waking up at 1 a.m. and you're wide awake and could go clean the kitchen, that is a blood sugar wake up. Nocturnal hypoglycemia. That is your blood sugar dips too low. Your adrenals release cortisol or adrenaline as emergency energy. You now have sugar in your blood. You feel adrenalized. Your pancreas releases insulin to help carry the sugar out of the blood and back into the cells. So anything you can do to support your pancreas. We have a pancreas blend, rose geranium, anise seed is good. That can help you fall back asleep. If you're waking up at 3 a.m. and you're kind of groggy, that is a liver gallbladder wake up. So anything you can do to support your liver and gallbladder before bed can help. And then hormonal wake ups, rose geranium is really good for any kind of hot flashes in the middle of the night.
All right, thank you, Jody. Something that a lot of our community does is food sensitivity tests. And Shanquilo asks, if food sensitivity test shows sensitive to coconut, can we use oils fractionated with coconut oil? And if not, what do you recommend? And I know that your oils are fractionated with coconut oil, so I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, and that's honestly, that's one reason that we gave the all the recipes for people that are concerned. there are a lot of schools of thought that like, oh, if you're sensitive in this way, you won't be that way. I kind of feel like I always err on the side of caution. So I would say if your food sensitivity test is showing that, just don't use it. Jojoba oil is another good carrier, sweet almond oil. You could even use olive oil. You have a lot of options. So yeah, I would, play it safe, and all the recipes are in the book.
That's awesome, because I know you get that question all the time. What's in that oil?
Yeah, right.
So we got 3 more minutes, and I really want to focus on your book. Would you just tell us a little bit about, what people are going to learn, what to expect, and just, and then where they can get it?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, books take a long time. So this is 2 years in the making, and we created it before our people were kind of not going into gift stores, and it's really designed to be a gift book. So it's very pretty and packed with a lot of great information. So what they get is a really detailed kind of explanation of what I think are the 5 underlying factors that impede health that oils lend themselves really well to supporting. So sleep, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, drainage, making sure that toxins actually leave the body, energy for mental and physical energy for focus and healing, and then immune modulation and calming inflammation. And so the first part really gets into detail explaining what those things are and how you can support it. And then the second part is all of the recipes and the entire protocol for implementing.
Thank you so much. And this is something Dr. Tom tells us all about our special guests. Like Jodi is one of our special guests. If you find her information helpful, do her a favor and leave her a 5-star review on Amazon. We're all trying to help each other move forward. And, that's one of the things you can do. It takes a few minutes, right? So if you're ordering from Amazon, or if you get it from Jodi, however you do it, leave her a review, let her know how it affected you. And that's all. I noticed that some people said, hey, I'm going to share this with my kids or friends and family. So please go ahead and, feel free to share this so that they get that information. And one last thing I wanted to say was, if you are interested in learning more about the parasympathetic state, the parasympathetic nervous system, we are addressing that in the very first base hits that we're doing, and we're only addressing it once this year. So I'm going to quickly throw a link into the comments section. So if you guys are interested to know, I'm sure Dr. Tom would have talked about it today. I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist or medical healer of any kind, so I couldn't address that. But I know that he is in that very first session of base hits. So if that's something important to you and you want to learn a little bit more from Dr. Tom, that is available through thedoctor.com. But thanks so much, Jodi, for helping me be host to you for the very first time ever. And thank you, everybody, for staying on. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.